Hi, Kelley. Welcome to the 4D podcast. You are quite popular in North America in terms of the training side of things with clear aligner players.
The clear aligner space, that's huge. Speaking from my own experience and the doctors who I'm supporting right now, orthodontists and GPs, it's amazing how quickly you can scale up when you're just saying yes to a lot of cases you wouldn't normally say yes to, because you don't have to think too much. I've set it up for top orthodontists around the world. So you're like, yes, I can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
So is that like something, because orthodontists do not have time to do it, but you can serve more patients if you manage the process and create more efficiencies?
We have so many advances now that we didn't have back then. Now we have, like with platforms like Smile Genius, for instance.
And why do you think that it's not being taught in school? And I think we'll go deep into the education side of things. Welcome to another new episode of the Digital Dentistry Deep Dive, or the 4D podcast. So today our guest is a very special guest. So we spoke to Kelley Tyrrell. Kelley is the education executive and the lead digital treatment planner for Clearly Aligned. They're based out in Canada, and she is one of the best people that you can talk to when it comes to education, when it comes to treatment planning. The amount of energy that Kelley has, I haven't seen anyone having that much of energy and delivery and the command on the subject of clear aligners. So one of the best episodes where I'm speaking to someone that has that depth of education, training, having trained people, the amount of study groups and courses that she had sacked herself to go through that journey first and learn herself, but she also delivers those through her company Clearly Aligned. And again, as you know, you have been following some of the things that I always speak about is the education, how education is very important to clear aligners in general, right? So it's not just about choosing the best system or the software, but also the education that gives you that confidence to take things forward, to deliver the best value for your patients. And the way she delivers with her DSOs, orthodontists, and the dental practices that she works for, I think, people have all good testimonials about her. We also spoke a huge amount about delegation, about virtual treatment planning. We also spoke about how she helped a couple of dental practices build execute on a blueprint of taking them from newbies and clear aligners to being the top 1% in the clubs. So fantastic episode, really good for someone who's looking to start or expand their clear aligner journey, and who emphasizes the role of education as well as optimizing the resources that the dental practice may already have. So enjoy the episode. Hi, Kelley. Welcome to the 4D podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I'm excited to talk to you as well. So Kelley, before we jump into detailed questions, maybe clinical or other training related questions, I think you are quite popular in North America in terms of the training side of things with clear aligner players. But I would love to know, for the audience that don't know you and for people who will be seeing you, can you give a brief history or your career history, what brought you to the point where you are, how from your earlier kind of dental hygienist, roles to where you have evolved to be a trainer and a treatment planner. So very curious personally as well, but I think it would be helpful to set the stage for the podcast as well.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I've had an interesting journey. I didn't plan it. It just kind of chose me, I would say. I've always been passionate in my job. I've always wanted to be the best team player. So whatever role they put me in, I always wanted to be the best or the best office on the block, that type of thing. And so basically when I did start off as a dental hygienist in GP practices, usually large GP practices that had periodontists and orthodontists. So it's always around kind of big offices that included orthodontists. And then I started going into specialty. And so in the orthodontic specialty practice, I was asked to lead the aligner section of the practice because it was new. It was like 15 or so years ago. And so it was just a small portion of practices back then. And so I took it upon myself to just kind of jump in and go overboard. And I spent pretty much the next 7 years, evenings and weekends, without being asked to. It just became a passion to really understand clear aligner therapy and digital orthodontics in general, to the level that my orthodontist understood it or needed to operate in that space. So I attended every single education, live course, online course that I could get my hands on. Um, Oftentimes, our reps would let me in as a team member, but just slide me in as if I was one of the doctors, because they knew I was there with the purpose of bringing it back to practice and applying it, which I did. And so, so basically, I just became this kind of fake odontist, if you will, just to help my boss and to make his job easier and to really understand what he had to do on a day-to-day basis behind the scenes on the platforms in the mouth, biomechanically, how to set up these plans, just so that I understood it at first. I didn't have a goal of taking it over and setting them up for the doctor. I just really wanted to be helpful and help push him. At the time, it was a male doctor, push him to do more and more cases every week, every month, every year, so that we could become the top provider in our area. And we did that. We did that within a year. And then it kind of just unraveled from there. I became very, very interested in the biomechanics, the education portion. Align faculty found me. And so I started teaching. And the reason I did that was just to get my hands on more education for myself to bring back to practice. So I had very kind of community goals. And then it just unraveled where people started to kind of know who I was and wanted me to help mentor them, help coach them, help grow their practice. And that's where I find myself today. I have worked for some bigger corporations, for usually almost always in the ortho specialty space for orthodontists. But most recently, I joined Clearly Aligned, which is a fantastic best-in-class education platform, founder Dr. Stephen Schulk. And we offer amazing education for digital orthodontics and study clubs. And I set up digital plans for a lot of beginner to top providers. So I'm doing exactly what I love every day. A little bit remote, a little bit study clubs, some virtual, and we travel around mostly North America so far. But I'm excited to come to Europe or the Middle East or wherever the journey takes me.
Great. No, thanks, Kelley. And that's very interesting. And I think you touched on a very important aspect of that there was this appetite to learn more and bring it back to the organization where you were working. And how do you see that role is in general? I don't think that a lot of people who are kind of assisting on the treatment planning side who are not orthodontists, but what's the role and the value? Because there's so much of value to an orthodontist and the practice as a whole that you, or in generic, that category is bringing in. So is that like something, because orthodontists do not have time to do it, but you can serve more patients if you manage the process and create more efficiencies in the system as a whole. So do you want to talk, maybe if we can go one level deep into that and how effective that was? And is that, you see that being kind of rolled out elsewhere now as well? Do you see that as a pattern across all practices now?
Yeah, I would say so I was lucky in the years prior to me joining Clearly Aligned. I worked with ULab Systems, so training orthodontists and whatnot. So I got really great access to orthodontic practices across North America. And I do know some high level GP practitioners who deliver high quality orthodontics who are doing the same thing. They've trained up or hired someone to help train up someone in their office. Usually we call them like a digital assistant or an Invisalign if you only do Invisalign. But there are so many aligner companies now, we're starting to change the role to like, whatever, different types of digital coordinator titles. there is no official school for that. It really is something you have to have a passion for, want to do, and seek out the education for. But it's definitely there, and I'm happy to be leading that. So we did do that. We had little study clubs for digital assistants who were taking baby steps, just like from ground level. You don't even need to be dental to start off with. We can train you to be dental, know the anatomy, know the platforms, and then really kind of drill down and get more and more complex. And it's amazing, the results that you can get and the value it adds to the orthodontist or doctor, whoever's delivering the treatment. They just, at first you have time to do all of this digital homework, and it's fun for you, no matter who you are. If it's even if it's your passion and you love doing it, what happens is as you grow your practice, you not only have plans to do on Wednesday night, which you've dedicated to your digital night, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and weekends. And so what happens is it's taking away the joy out of your day-to-day existence when you're actually delivering to patients, because in the back of your mind, you're like, I have plans to do, I have to press approve or they won't arrive in my office in time. And therefore I'm going to have to reschedule patients. So there's always this pressure that you have to get your homework done. And then you go home after a busy day and you have to sit in front of your computer. And I call it kind of pushing plastic, because we're all susceptible to it, where you have a long list of patients you need to get through, and they all deserve your utmost attention and detail. But at a certain point, you're burnt out and you just need to press approve. You need to get those cases ordered so that they're there 10 days later in practice. And so pushing plastic, at some point, you're just going to approve, and you've missed closing small spaces or those extra rotations, or the fact that the patient was concerned about this, this lack of leveling in their front teeth, and you've missed it. And so having someone to support you in that space, it's like an extra filter. We can train someone up to do 70% of the work. So you just have that last 30% to do as the doctor. You always press approve yourself. You always double check everything. But there's also amazing, it's a small group of us, but across North America and in Europe, I have some great digital diva friends. We can set it up to 95, 98%. It's our space, it's our passion. And so the doctors really just are trusting you, and they're going through, they're still looking, but they're like, good to go, good to go. We know your preferences, your protocols, and how you work so well. And so it's a very, very exciting space. And I think it's going to grow. I can see this being offered in colleges and universities, whether it's an add-on to an existing dental course, or it's just more of like a master technician type of role, but it's definitely needed. And especially with restorative dentistry now completely going digital, from like implants to everything's being outsourced and set up on a computer. Not just chairside milling and what we're used to. And I don't think it's everyone's passion. I don't think all the doctors are passionate about that digital space. And so delegation really, I think, is the new black in dentistry in general. I think keep the parts of your job you love. That might be the new patient experience. It might be selling. And by selling, I mean only educating and offering things that patients really need. But so the selling and maybe the delivering and monitoring of your case and really understanding it. So you still need that education piece. But why are you doing the middle part? Why are you doing the setup if it's not your passion? Give your time back to yourself so you can enjoy your day, enjoy your family, enjoy your hobbies, and then really start just like educating yourself into the areas that you are the most passionate about. So, in our lives, in our daily lives, there's things that I don't do. I don't open my own pool. I don't cut my own grass. I would love to do less and just focus on what I want to do. And if I had to do all of those things, I definitely would be less educated in this space than I am, because there's only so much time. Time is the most valuable thing that we have.
Well, I completely agree. And why do you think that it's not being taught in school? And I think we'll go deep into the education side of things. But if that is so useful, that why are the universities not talking about these kind of extended roles that those courses can take as well, on the business side, on the operational side, on the scalability side of things as well? Do you have any take on that why they are not changing the curriculum to cover these things?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I wouldn't. I mean, it's not a new space. I mean, obviously, I've been learning it for the last, I don't even know, 12 years. But I think we're still in that kind of like the innovation phase where there's some of us are doing it to a high level, and then there's other practices who have digital assistants who are, just inputting the data and doing a little bit or putting the doctor's notes. So there's all these different varieties. So until we can find kind of like a middle ground of like, if you graduated from a course, what would need your assistant to do, and be able to achieve. So I think it's getting there. There's got to be conversations. But again, you would need someone like myself and some of the other key players who are in this area to develop that curriculum, to teach it perhaps or whatnot. It's easily done. It's like, top university professors, you beam them in, or if they're local, they go in for a couple lectures. It's definitely doable. I think it's a great added value. I think well, it doesn't have to be dental assistants. It doesn't really even have to be dental, but I think any of these colleges or universities could have like an extra year that they add on, or 6 months or whatnot. And I'm not sure why it hasn't already been done. But privately, we are doing it. Privately, there are dental assistant or digital assistant study clubs, and there's no real certification. But doctors who communicate and hang out with other top providers, they know that, yeah, I delegate. I give this job to my like even virtual treatment coordinators, for instance. There are doctors who are like, no, I have my virtual treatment coordinator do that. They meet the new patients. They know I exist. I'm on the website. That's why they came to the office perhaps, but they don't need to meet me on day one. So they're really trusting and delegating their team. And I don't think that's every doctor. I think a lot of doctors think that very important jobs can only be done by them. And they really need to realize that if you educate and mentor and lead your team, you can have like high quality team members who can support you. It takes a little bit of trust and a little bit of a jump, but I think as more top orthodontists and dentists who are utilizing and delegating to a high level share their stories, other people will realize, hey, that's what I want. That's the missing piece for me. I'm not enjoying this. Of course, you can always delegate to an outside service. I set up cases for the world. But internally, you still need someone to put the pieces together and to manage you and make sure, every patient is being taken care of and cases arrive. And it's a huge job. It's a huge job. And I also think there's a lot of dental team members out there who are burnt out. They've been doing their role, whatever it is in the office, from administrator to dental assistant to dental hygienist, who might be thinking of retiring. They have amazing skill sets, amazing experience, and they might want to pivot, and they're just not sure what to do. They're thinking of working at Costco, anything, just something different. And this is a huge opportunity for them to take that skill set. They can work remotely in a lot of instances, and still kind of do what they love, but it's something fresh and different. So I love that whole area. I would love to teach that myself. I would love to teach that in university. I'll have to add that to my to-do list.
Professor Kelley.
Exactly. I'm basically a fake professor. There's no PhD there, and a fake odontist.
Yeah.
Lots of education, no certificate.
Okay. And Kelley, another question is around, when I was doing research for this episode, right, and I was going through all your history, the career, LinkedIn profile and everything. And I also saw some of the key areas where you helped some of the orthodontic practices get to 1%, top 1%, Invisalign providers as well. And I'm very curious what separates out those practices from the others that are not there or that are just beginning. What is that blueprint? Again, you don't have to name those practices or, but there are patterns, right? There are patterns
Yes.
of these practices who tend to, who are on the path to become 1% or are already 1%. So just, very curious, what do you see? What are those blueprint points? And where do you see, they did really well versus the others who are, trying and something is wrong, and it could be the model or it could be the blueprint. Yeah. Over to you.
Yeah. So the first practice, so I had two very different experiences. Uh, it really comes down to, in both situations, I'll kind of give you a synopsis of both. It really comes down to um, wanting it, and really having clarity of what you want and how you're going to get it. So in the first instance, when I was in my first orthodontic practice, and I had no idea that there was a tiered system and that I could become top 1%, but that's like the Olympics to me. And I'm really not a competitive person, but in my job, I am. Again, I want to be the best, and I want to be recognized. I just want a pat on the back, basically, from my orthodontist to say, wow, good for you, Kelley. That's all I asked for. So that was my motivating factor. And my orthodontist didn't really care to be top 1%. He's wealthy. He's happy. He has good quality of life. And so he didn't really even care about the lab discount. But I just thought, I'm going to be the best team member of the year. If I can save him all this money, that's just money we're throwing away. So I'd like to do that. And also, of course, when you bring in more and more patients who sign up, you're making money. So you're making more money, you're saving more money, team member of the year. It just sounded perfect. And so all I had to do was buckle down and get the numbers up. And so how I did that was systems. In my own mind, I was just like, okay, every day at the morning huddle on my day sheet, I'm going to highlight every single patient I think would be a candidate for orthodontics. And back in the day, there was no Invisalign first. So there was no mixed dentition aligners, and we hadn't really started teens yet. We did the occasional teen who was a child superstar whose parent was like a real pain in the butt, and we just had to give it to them. But we were definitely, the industry was not pushing it, and in practice we were not pushing it at all. It was only for adults, so it was a very small pool. But I was like, no, anyone, like my children would want this. If I would, like super mom or whatever, I would want this for my children. So I would start off on the day and I would just highlight. And so it was just being accountable, like looking for opportunities of clients who might benefit. And again, I'm not selling it. I hate selling, but I'm just offering it. And I'm excited about this product. I believe in this product, and I believe we can deliver excellence, not perfection, but excellence with this product. And so I would highlight all the patients. And throughout the day, it was my goal to scan every single one of those patients I highlighted. Amongst my day, I have a busy day, I have a chair, but it only takes a minute or so to scan. And so I would scan all those patients. And of course, while I was scanning, I'm energetic and passionate about what I do. And so I chit chat about Invisalign and clear aligners and and all the benefits. And by the end of that scan, by the time the orthodontist or the dentist would come chairside and start talking ortho, they'd be like, I want what she's talking about. They didn't even really know what I was talking about. It was like a tornado of information, but they knew I was excited enough about it that they were now excited. And so slowly but surely, more adults and more teens started signing up. And just that little 1%, doing like really 1% better every day, pushing, led us to all of a sudden be platinum. And then by the end of the year, the ticker ticked over. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was probably 10 years ago or more now. But I just watched on my little Invisalign doctor site, the little ticker tick over that we reached, top 1% diamond status. And I was just like, I knew I could do it. I hadn't said it out loud to the team. In fact, my whole team, there was about 30 staff members. No one knew what diamond meant. I did all the Invisalign in my room. And so no one really knew what that was about, but I was like secretly cheering for myself. And my boss, of course, was, he was like, wow, I can't believe you did that. So yay. It wasn't a huge celebration, but it really just trickled down to looking for the opportunities, holding myself accountable to get those scans done, stay excited about it. So eye on the prize, and doing it consistently throughout the day and throughout the months and months after months. And because I really wanted it, and it was achievable. It was definitely a measurable goal that I could do. And I think what makes it easier now, so that was, 15 years ago, seems like pioneer times. We have so many advances now that we didn't have back then. Now we have, like with platforms like Smile Genius, for instance, we have software that I don't have to open 43 platforms to find my education, to run my cases. virtual monitoring didn't even exist, but thank God it does now. Virtual monitoring, so that I don't have to have all these patients in my chair, because as you grow, you have a massive amount of patients, and I'm trying to fit them into one chair. I was the Invisalign, I was the whole project. And so having all of these amazing innovations and solutions now, I mean, the sky's the limit. You could be double diamond, top 1%. I could probably, grow 200% with the solutions we have now, and the delegation, and not even having to set up the cases. If I had someone like myself who I could be like, this is what I want, you do it, and I'll just keep, trucking along, scanning, educating, selling, and delivering. I mean, that's dreamy. And then, so basically, that's how that happened. And then I actually left that practice a year later. And what's amazing is once you create a practice like that, the systems fall into place and it just self-perpetuates. You don't have to try very hard to reach that platinum or that 1% every year. Once the systems are in place, it just rolls, and it's fine. You've got it under control. And so the next practice I went to was brand new. Doors just opened. They didn't have a client base. And the difference was that doctor was like, I want exactly what you did for practice A, because they were golf buddies, but we're all in. Whatever digital equipment you need, and the team is all on board. We all have the same goal, and we're going to do it together. And that's a lot more fun to do it that way, to all be motivated, to all have a goal, to all be looking for the opportunities, and also to celebrate together little milestones. It could be like, who can scan the fastest, for instance, and you get a reward. So if everyone can scan in under two minutes or 5 minutes, you get something. It could be a cash prize. It could be a gift certificate to a restaurant, something that motivates your individual team. And then every quarter, you're meeting your goals, delivering excellence, creating a wow experience. It doesn't all have to be monetary goals, but that just naturally comes. I don't follow the money, but the money seems to follow me. But the team is motivated by those types of things. They want to have a great day. They want to have, a fun experience every day and enjoy their work. But we're there to work. We're there for money as well. So we need to be somehow cut in to the magic, so that those final scans at 4:45, when you finish at 5:00, when someone comes through the door or you see an opportunity, you're like, I got it. Because if you let just those couple, the leaky bucket, if you let those couple little patients drip through on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, that's where you're losing your potential for growth. But if the whole team knows, like, hey, let's get this done. Let's make sure that this bucket has no holes, and we're getting every possible opportunity. At the end of the year, you're all rewarded. And again, every team has different rewards. If they super love each other, they go on a trip together. But a lot of us just want to see our paycheck rise, and it's like a win-win-win situation across the board. It is a lot of fun if you include your team. Let your team educate with you. There's no sense in being the orthodontist or the dentist and going on all of these amazing courses, and they can be virtual, so it doesn't need to really cost anything, but your team doesn't know the information. There is no way you can come back into practice and spill out all that information, how excited you are about this conference you went to and all of the things that you learned. It's very difficult for doctors and orthodontists to get that across. And most aren't leaders, and they didn't go to business school, so they don't know how to really lead their team very well. They're just really good practitioners. And the problem is the team doesn't know anything. And if you don't know, you can't act on it and you can't follow through. So give the team, even if it's virtual or it's recordings, or if there are study clubs they can go to, or if they want to become a digital assistant, give them access to that, because you're going to benefit like tenfold if you include them on that journey with you.
Great. No, thanks for sharing that. And I picked up a couple of keywords that you used during the, when you're giving the answer. And I feel that it's beginning of the year. It seems going more towards goal setting and, opportunities and all that. But, very interesting. So one thing that I noticed, and obviously, we can go into this. It seemed that the role that you played was more of a, kind of coming in as a business consultant of sorts for an orthodontic practice. Yes, there is a clinical aspect, but there was this business aspect, the operational aspect that you brought in. So that's number one. Number two, obviously, the similarities between those two practices, apart from you being there, was, starting from the goal in mind, right? What
Yes.
like making them feel that this is achievable because you've done it once. So, people knew that, you can still do that 4-minute mile, so I think that's where it started with the, opportunities, and then trust. So I think the management trusted in you in, leading the rest of the team towards that goal, and then the rewards and celebration. So just making sure that I'm getting the, the blueprint thing right. But it all started with the goal setting. Is that correct? So everything was up what you're after.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of the times we see it all the time at team meetings because, again, in those situations, I had a little bit of a leadership role, but it was very parallel and equal with my teammates. I was in there doing the work too. I wasn't just like, do this, do that. I was definitely in there delivering these cases with them, which is great because, the team wants to know that you're all doing the work and there's not just a dictatorship going on. But the goal, I think, is so important when you sit down, and a lot of teams are sitting down for their first yearly huddle. And what are we going to do this year and what's important? And it's easy to spit out a goal like, hey, we want to hit, and we always use the Invisalign platform because it's the most familiar, but we want to do X amount of cases this year. We want to grow our orthodontic project in our office if you're a GP practitioner. This is what's important to me. And whether you're putting a dollar value on that or a number of patients, or you're dedicating 3 chairs a week out of your clinic to it, however you present it to your team, that's fantastic. And we are all sitting there thinking, sure, okay, we get it. Like, we get the goal, but there's no action steps. There's no how to do it, how to get there. And so until you actually break that down, and a lot of offices need help to do that. How are we going to do that? What does that look like for my admin team? What does that look like for the assistant or the hygienist to find these opportunities and do their little part so that we're all moving along and we actually hit our goals? So I think it's fine to say like, hey, we're going to do digital implants this year. All of our implants are going digital. And everyone's like, okay, cool. But then no one knows what to do. And so then next Monday just starts and you're all just doing the same thing, still doing an excellent job because you're an excellent practice, but no one really has any education or any action steps or guidance or leadership on how to get there. And the doctor's very busy. He's head down doing his job all day and, trying to run a practice and all these, crazy staff members with all their different issues going on. So it's difficult. The goal is always there, but the actual management and execution of it just gets away from you, and it gets away from you year after year after year until you start to have someone kind of show you the path, lay it out for you, whether that's like a consultant or you just dedicate time. Hey, every week as a team for Lunch and Learn, we're going to sit down and watch this education together. And it starts from the beginning of how we're going to do our new patient consults, how we're going to deliver efficiently and effectively so we don't waste time and we're all on the same page. So it can be taking like a course, like Clearly Aligned Foundational Systems is a great starting point. You break it into chapters and the team is held accountable because every Wednesday we order pizza, we all sit there as a team and we're all learning the same thing. We're all getting the same education. And starting tomorrow, we just start putting into practice. And it's those little tiny baby steps that actually make a big difference instead of, sometimes we bite off more than we can chew. And everyone puts up barriers and blocks because they're like, this is too much. And people don't like change. Typically, most people don't like change. So I think you scare the team members off and they kind of get their backs up like, well, I'm not doing this and it's too much for me. I think including them, it's so easy to have a lunch and learn, but put it in that schedule, put it in the schedule. No one books emergencies in there. It's dedicated time because your goal is important. So you need to reserve that special time and treat your goal as important as it is.
Yeah, makes sense. I think you mentioned about the foundational course from Clearly Aligned as well. So that makes a kind of segue into the educational side of things, right? So you have been part of the educational system, and training of sorts. And can you break down what does education mean for a clear aligner or an orthodontic practice? Like, what are the different sorts of education? I think we briefly touched on that. Not everything is taught at school, be it the dental school or, so not everything is, so I think everyone agrees to that. And then going forward from there, right? So, what are the different models that exist in terms of education, and how do you
Mhm.
break it down? And what's the value of that education, because that's not being taught in the school. So, can you just give a brief macro view, and then we'll go deep into the different models, if you wish. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely no shortage of education out there at this point, and especially COVID was great for that. I personally liked COVID quite a lot because I had a few weeks off and I watched 436 webinars during COVID. It was like the best time of my life. I could do as much education as I wanted. I mean, I didn't get paid, so that was a bit of a bummer, but um, during that time, so many educators were forced to take to their screens and deliver that way. And we're all a little bit burnt out of it. But it is online, whether it's online live or it's on demand where you can watch it at your convenience. It is very convenient and we're all used to it. We're all used to being on our screens and being able to start and stop, no commercials, that type of thing. So I still think that is an excellent platform, and you can buy really, really robust courses. So, I mean, I work for Clearly Aligned. I've taken, again, all the orthodontist level courses that exist out there that I could get access to, which was a lot because I was on Align faculty. So a lot of the heads of all of these amazing courses let me in as a colleague. And then, of course, I've taken the GP and team member stuff as well. So I've got a handle of what's out there. There are a lot of very simple startup. If you want to start aligners, here's a simple little course you can take. Let's just call it a $1,500 course. Anyone can pay that. And it gives you little bite-sized pieces. And it's almost like when you start Invisalign, they give you a 1 or 2 day course and you leave there thinking, I don't know enough. And I used to teach that, so no disrespect. There's only so much we can do in a day and a half. And it was high quality education. But I know doctors leave there thinking, I want to do it, but they don't start. There's a very slow rise after those courses. And the same with these very simple courses that doctors take where it's little bite-sized pieces. The delivery system is great and the people are great who are delivering it. Love them all. But it's just not enough. Doctors don't have the confidence to kind of go forward. They need more information. And so when Clearly Aligned came out with their courses, I reviewed them before they kind of went live because it was during COVID. And I was like, wow, this is like the best education I've ever seen. Beautifully delivered, but it's specialty level, although it's directed towards GPs. It's directed towards anyone who wants to treat ortho. So love that. And it's very deep. It's very intense. It's a lot of hours, but you can just take from it what you need. And what I love about that is that you take what you need, and it might just be the simple stuff to start off with to get your feet wet, very shallow end of the pool, but you own that course. So you can circle back as many times as you want. And every single time you watch it, you learn something new because you're coming with a different mindset. You're smarter than the first time you watched it. You know more because you've had a few patients, you've delivered some cases, and now you're curious about different things. And so when you revisit your own course, again, you're not paying again, you revisit it, and now you're taking out new things out of that course. And so it grows with you. And then, of course, obviously, Dr. Shulkin, his team, we continue to develop more courses to support the membership because now, I mean, we have some high level doctors who treat just like specialists, TADS and pre-surgical. So with everything from simple to surgical to mixed dentition, there are no cases really that can't be done with education. And so it's just a matter of what your goals are, who you think you want to treat in the first year, 2 or 3. And then as you're like, you know what, I've got a handle on this, I feel very confident with this, I am going to start doing teenagers. Let me circle back and figure out what that means for teenagers. Let me circle back and figure out what that means for my phase 1. Maybe I can prevent some of these big orthodontic problems. And so the education is just amazing. I personally love human connection as well. So I love online courses because I'm a hoarder of education. So I like to always have it at the ready on my computer, but I also go to those courses live so that I can hear other people's questions. So the course kind of takes a turn in different directions that maybe the online content never went to. So I'm always learning something new. And you get a chance to engage and ask questions. And it's personal, and it's about your cases. And you get to meet other providers who at lunchtime sometimes offer you pearls of systems. Like I could be sitting down at lunch and I could have a doctor who maybe flew over from England and who is using Smile Genius software to manage their practice because we're complaining over our coffee about our lab bills or managing, or what virtual care system do you use? And all of a sudden a topic like Smile Genius might come up, and now you've just solved a whole bunch of headaches for me. And I came for biomechanics information, and I left with an amazing pearl. So I love the relationships that get built out of live content, but I think there still is definitely a place for online. And then I think study clubs are the bridge between the both. Study clubs can be virtual; they can be on a computer because we all don't have easy access to each other, but very often quick, like let's say once every 2 months, a study club that you meet regularly with the same or different groups of people, so you feel safe. You feel kind of supported. Like I know all my doctors when they come to my study clubs. I'm pretty open. I'm just who I am. It's not scripted. I just say what comes out of my mouth. And there are no bad questions. I'm not judging you. I'm not judging your cases. We all have made mistakes in our cases, and then we learn from them. And so we show those mistakes and we talk about those mistakes. There's no judgment. So I think it's a very safe space to be like, hey, like this case, I've done 3 refinements. It's off the rails. The patient's getting mad at me. Kelley, help me, show me what I did wrong. Let's go back to ground zero. Show me how I could have prevented this. And now let's deal with what we have as quickly and efficiently as we can. And that's a teachable moment for everyone sitting at the board table. So all 12 doctors there learn from that, and no one's embarrassed. It's a fact. Like things don't work out. Sometimes your root canals don't work out. Sometimes your fillings fail. You know, that's just life. We're not perfect, but we are striving to be excellent. So I think that's the goal. We all know we're trying to do our best, and study clubs are great for that. It's just a really nice mix of being personable, and it's usually they're very affordable, and you can keep up with them. And I think also to that point, when I set up cases for doctors, I record, it's kind of just like we're doing right now, quick little 20-minute videos about their case. I'm explaining to them how I've set it up, why I've set it up that way, and little tips about delivering so that they don't make mistakes, and they watch out for key things that they might not know about. And my doctors are always saying like, oh my God, I learned more in that 20-minute video because it was specific to them. It matters to them because that's their patient. So they're really listening. And so they learned about a little bit about elastics, a little bit of attachments, a little bit about AP movements, a little bit about mixed dentition, things that they didn't know. And those little micro learns add up to a lot. So it's like the 1%. You're 1%. If you watch those videos 5 times a month, you have 5 patients a month, and I've done little videos. That's a lot of education that you got, and you didn't even realize that you were paying for it, or that you spent time doing it.
Oh, great. And are these study clubs like these are virtual and in person as well? And they come as, I'm just trying to understand that. Is it once you've gone through the course, that's when you sign up for a study club, or they are independent to whether you have gone through a full course or not?
Yeah, they're independent. A lot of our doctors do find out that study clubs exist once they take a course, because that's the first time possibly they've gone to the Clearly Aligned website, and then they see that, oh, they have a ClinCheck service, or oh, they have study clubs, or they have live webinars, some of which are free, and then some are for like members who kind of join the club and they have all the courses and whatnot. But you can just it's like a buffet. You can take what you need. Not all doctors need all of those things. And so the virtual ones we're just kind of starting to set up. Again, some people are remote, or they want access, but they're actually from a different country. You're not going to fly over every couple months. And then we do have key areas like hotspots, like Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, Ottawa, hotspots where we have a collection of doctors who consistently want to meet up. And find a lot of value in these quick little meetings. And so we try to accommodate those as best we can.
Great.
That's with me. Just to be clear, the fake odontist.
No. What I was when you were talking about it, it feels like you're the Tony Robbins of orthodontics, right? It's kind of self-taught. I'll tell you how to do it, but I tried it myself. Anyways, that's a title for you. That will be the title of this episode.
I bought the cold plunge that Tony Robbins uses. I know he cold plunges it every morning. I have yet to use it.
All right. Okay. Yeah. We'll see the 20 minutes how to do a cold plunge video soon.
Exactly.
Cool. So Kelley, I know, and we have spoken quite a bit before as well. And I think you travel a lot. You see so many, practices. You meet with so many orthodontists, GPs, DSOs. And I think you are in the middle of all that innovation that's happening. And we know that most of the clear aligner innovation comes from North America, at least to date, right? Being in that midst of all things, like what are the biggest innovations or the trends that you are seeing in let's start with clear aligners, and then maybe if we can go into general dentistry, what you are seeing that could be the movers and shakers in the next 2 to 5 years.
Sure. So we already talked about delegation. So again, that doesn't just apply to like digital setups, but in the clear aligner space, that's huge. I have, speaking from my own experience and the doctors who I'm supporting right now, orthodontists and GPs, it's amazing how quickly you can scale up when you're just saying yes to a lot of cases you wouldn't normally say yes to, because you don't have to think too much. I've set it up for top orthodontists around the world. So you're like, yes, I can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And trust me, if there's anything that I can't do, I would never deliver anything that I wouldn't put in my own family's mouth. But orthodontists, what do orthodontists say no to? It's an obligation to treat. We have to treat people. So the door is wide open. So I think delegating things that you don't love or that you're nervous about or don't have confidence in yet, or it's going to take you a year or two to educate yourself. You would like to do it yourself. Maybe that's your goal and you are very interested, but that's going to take you need some headway. You need some time to learn up to that. In the meantime, delegate and then take it over. And you've learned that's part of your education. It's an investment in your education. Or you just think, you know what? Yeah, why am I spinning my wheels? Why am I doing all this stuff? Let's delegate it. And I'm going to concentrate on other areas of the practice. So I think delegation is huge. And I think that can apply to any number of areas in practice. If you really thought about it, what can I let go of, whether I'm not enjoying it or someone else could do it better? So that's that. I think I'm super excited about virtual monitoring, and I have been mostly since COVID. I was doing it pre-COVID because, again, being on Align faculty, we have a lot of opportunities to see the innovations that are coming before it's released to public. So I was very excited about that because I'm very competitive about chair time. Chair time is definitely dollars to me, even though they're not my personal dollars. I'm very invested in saving the practice money and also just doing things better and faster and more efficient with the level of care, of course, if it's possible, and raising the whole team up to that standard. So I love virtual monitoring for that reason. It's getting better and better. There are multiple platforms right now. I'm most familiar with dental monitoring. So I'm a super fan of that, but I've used virtual care with Invisalign, and there's also other virtual monitoring systems even baked into your own platform or solution. Smile Genius, they're all really great. So I love that it's very convenient and efficient. It's a time saver. Again, delegate. You need to have a virtual champion to monitor that, someone who you've educated up to know what to look for, just to skim off the top and just to give you the ones that, doctor, can you take a look at these 10 patients out of the 100 I looked at? Can you look at these 10? I've dealt with these people. They're happy, they're motivated, they think you're answering them, everything's going good, but these 10 need your attention. That is delegation. That's just smart work. Otherwise, you got to go home and you have a whole new digital homework list. To the same point, I'm super excited about virtual treatment consults, and that can be clear aligner, and that can also be restorative or just a new patient to your practice. Even if you're like a plastic surgeon, why are people getting off their couches? Why are divorced couples coming together in an orthodontic consult and it's friction when they can be at home on their couches and little Joey can be there and we're having a conversation? Because again, if there's a need, and so maybe they've pre-sent in photos because we've educated them how to do that. So we have their photo, we have their scan. I have enough information to say, yes, you need treatment. Yes, we can do it with clear aligners, or yes, we can do it with brackets, or whatever we're talking about. That's all I really need to know. And I need to tell you the fee, and then I can pass the torch on to my, admin or treatment coordinator or whoever wants to do the financial portion. But all of this can be remote and very professionally done without even the doctor stepping on camera, to be quite honest. So then the first time the patient comes into your practice, it's like, hey, we already know you. We know a little bit about you. You've already committed really to treatment, but we need some finishing touches. We need to get your pan. We need to get your Ceph. We need to take some additional data. And here you go. Like, we're going to meet the doctor today. And it's kind of turning the whole process on its head. It's different than we're used to. It's usually meet the doctor first, and like, I'm in charge, and let me tell you about myself and spit out some dental lingo so I can impress you. And then we'll get down to the other stuff, where your team, if they're well educated and well supported, give them the leadership role, let them do it. Half the time we're sitting there behind your head and thinking, wrap it up, or I already said that. Like, if you have a good team, they've already given that whole communication to the patient, and you're just wasting your time spinning your wheels. They do need to beat you. And it's not to devalue the doctor's role at all. It's to save the doctor time. And so I think that's a very interesting future. Again, people in your office can pivot. People who want to work remote, who are thinking of retiring but still have a lot to offer, give them 2 4-hour blocks, a week, where they're doing virtual consults, and there's an incentive to close those cases, meet new people, inspire new people to join up. And again, that's like 1%. If you do a little bit better every day, it's going to add up to a lot. And those people aren't in your practice, so it's saving chair time. And then also, I think just systems. I'm super passionate about efficiency and systems. So I think more and more practices who, again, surround themselves with great people and know great practitioners who are doing really well and are starting to figure out, hey, I'm a pretty good doctor and I have pretty good team members. How come you're so amazing and I'm just still mediocre? They're realizing the difference is the systems and the efficiency. So again, delegation is part of that. Virtual monitoring is probably part of that. But the systems of, how are you tracking your bookkeeping? How are you tracking your lab bill? Do you have 4 different team members running in different directions, doing all of these different platforms, and maybe there's some overlap and things are getting missed? Bring it all together, consolidate it, pay for some software, for goodness sakes, that does this for you, because like it's a digital generation. AI is here to help us, and very smart people have figured this out for us. So we need to like get off those analog systems and kind of really wrap it up and tighten up the strings. And then we have all these team members who are still capable. I'm not saying get rid of your team members, but these are maybe the future digital leaders who might be helping you in other areas of your practice. And you might think you're short-staffed, but you're not short-staffed. You're just not working smart. So work smart.
No, it's great that it's like, I think this is the 5th or 6th episode of this podcast. And it's the first time I asked this question about trends and innovation, what you're saying. First time someone is talking about delegation as the new trend. And, people talk about 3D printing, they talk about materials, which is good. But I think the elephant in the room is the, delegation and how you can scale that up. And I think one thing that you touch upon is the trust, right? So It's so important to trust your team members they are looking out for you and they're not stepping into your shoes. So I think that's where I think trust is so important, right?
Yes, I think it too. And I've been so lucky to work with amazing teams, just amazing team members who I love and trust. And I honestly think I could educate any single one of them. So it's not like someone has to be born with genetic magic to become. It's just persistence and just getting it done and being open and curious about the information. So I think it's definitely possible to train team members to do this. And then at the same time, saving time, saving money, there are solutions that already exist, whether it's I mean, I exist. I already do this for a living. Clearly Aligned as a ClinCheck service. We all know other platforms that exist to do this. So you do want to be careful. I will say, if you train someone up to be a superstar on your team, and there's just one of them, because those people will get poached away. Happened to me. And I hate leaving practice. I love practice. I could have worked in practice forever. I never even would have known about this world, but things happen. So be careful if you're training up one magical superstar that they really, or at least, I mean, you can't stop people from moving countries or having babies and things like that, but you need to value those people. If you're going to train up one superstar and they're really holding the reins on your practice, I would cross train a little bit there for sure. Or it's safe to delegate outside your practice as well. So keep your team members for the day-to-day, the delivery, the virtual monitoring, things like that. I mean, virtual monitoring can be delegated outside the practice as well to experts who know what they're doing. But just be a little bit mindful of that. Long term, if you have 20 years in practice, is Maria going to be here with me for the whole journey, or am I training and pouring a lot of resources into someone who might leave me for $5 more an hour down the street? Just be mindful of that, because I do see that. And again, because there aren't many people like us, but the solutions are there. So definitely delegate for sure, and do train up your team so they understand the cases they're delivering, and they understand what they may be monitoring and looking for, chairside or virtually. But maybe have a couple different options, or know that if Maria ever does leave you, there are options here for you as well.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Cool. I think we are kind of towards the last question. I won't hold you long. So I think let's learn about. I ask this question to everyone, right? Because it's a good learning to know how you plan your day. So apart from taking the cold plunge, which you will do, 8 a.m. Showing up for a podcast. How's a typical day in your life, and how do you manage it? I know you're very good at managing things. So can you just walk us through an average day? How do you do that, and how do you manage everything?
Yeah. So I try to start every day. So again, because I came from practice, I understand the pressures of the doctor and the team who are sitting down and they have their digital homework list, who I'm in charge of. A big part of my role every single day is doing digital plans for doctors. And so it's always on my mind that doctors are waiting for these cases. So I'd like to have as quick of a turnaround as possible so they can order and deliver them, and no patient ever has to be rescheduled because Kelley took too long with the case. So usually the guarantee is 10 days, but it's usually 3 days. I honestly can't sleep if there's people on my list. And so what I do is I sit down and I go through any doctors who have emailed me questions or concerns, or things that they didn't understand about cases I've already passed back to them. Because they're not going to approve or feel comfortable with those cases until that's off. So even though I've passed those off, I need to just dot my I's, cross my T's, and make sure that they're comfortable and happy. And so that's fantastic. And then I just start off on my day's list, and I just kind of crunch away, making little videos as I go. So I talk to myself just like this all day long. Seems like I'm very social and meeting a lot of people. My mom, who lives with me, is always like, oh, you had a busy day of meetings. And I'm like, no, that's just me talking to myself. But I am animated talking to myself. And so I get through that list first. Of course, sometimes I have meetings in between. And then I try to block time to prepare for podcasts or study clubs that are coming up. And each study club is very customized to who's attending. So I ask the attendees, what are topics that you're interested in? Send me some cases that are concerning to you, and I will find teachable moments in them. So everything's very customized with what I do. And then, we have lectures and online courses that are interactive. So our online courses that people are taking, within the course themselves, you can ask real-time questions about the content, and it comes to me in real time and I answer it in real time. And so those are little things that are peppered throughout my day as I go through my list. And yeah, it's kind of a controlled chaos, and there is no start, or there's no real start or end to the day, because we're all in different time zones. And so when I get questions or concerns about cases coming through to me, I can picture myself being the fake odontist or the orthodontist or the GP sitting on their couch with their laptop in their lap and maybe their toddler beside them, and they're trying to get through their homework and they're asking me a question. And that question can't wait till tomorrow. It can, it's not life or death, but the problem is that it's top of mind for the doctor now. He's looking at the case now. He remembers Sarah's class 2 case now. And so if I give him the answer, it's going to mean something. If I email him tomorrow, he's probably not even going to remember that case. So I really, I really take it to heart when people email me and they need something in a timely manner. I think that's just a next level of support that we offer personally, but also with Clearly Aligned. I think it's a nice thing. And I know our doctors find great value and feel very, very well supported. So I do have a new goal this year, though, to try to leave the house, apart from travel for my job, but to try to leave the house to at least go to the gym or get outside, have a little bit more balance, because I do love what I do. And so I can easily do it for 18 hours straight without stopping. And my family is kind of reminding me that, I need to do a little bit more, just balance it out a little bit. So I've been pretty good. I have left the house a couple times
this week.
It's the end of January. I can't believe January is already over, but baby steps, 1% rule, 1% better every day.
Great. Thanks, Kelley. I think thanks for this lovely episode. And I think you just opened up you were very honest. And I think there were a lot of really good nuggets around the areas that we never speak about, right? So, building trust with your team, or delegation, and, virtual monitoring. And I think those are really essential key takeaways, which will come out in, once this full version comes out, and in the show notes as well. So I think, thank you for taking out time, 8 a.m. in the morning, very early, but, thank you for showing up, for sharing, your thoughts. And hopefully, I think there's so many other kind of areas that we can talk about in separate episodes, in future episodes as well. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. And I look forward to it anytime.
Great. Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you are, entering into the journey of starting your own clear aligner services, or setting up a manufacturing unit, or setting up a chain of clinics offering clear aligners, you need a really good quality software, which should have the case management side of things, which should have a remote monitoring side of things, and also should be white labeled. Smile Genius Dental provides you all in one software to do everything that you will need on those key areas. We provide you with the doctor's portal, which is the dentist facing portal where they can submit the cases and remote monitor the patient's progress. We provide the labs with the lab case management side of things, where they can manage the incoming requests from the doctors, but also have visibility of the operation side from the patient side as well. And then we have provided you with the patient monitoring app, because it's all about compliance and engagement at the end. So Smile Genius Dental is the all-in-one platform, which is white labeled for your brand, to provide you with your consumers with that end-to-end experience, to provide more efficiency and productivity to your business, without needing you to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of development time to build the software yourself. So call in to our team or book an appointment with us, and we'll be happy to walk you through what Smile Genius is all about. But until next time, stay tuned for the next really good episode of the Digital Dentistry Deep Dive podcast.